Bam!
Jayson Waller here, True Underdog Podcast, top 3 entrepreneur podcast. Thank you for subscribing. Make sure if you're not subscribing, you go ahead and click that damn button today. Now, I've got a special guest here today, and we're doing this series that's going to be part of my future book. We don't have a title for it yet, but really it's going to be how to cold call, how to overcome objections, how to follow up, and how to ask for referrals. So I've got one of my main guys here. Love this dude. He's been with me for 3 companies. He's also my brother-in-law. He's taught me a lot of things along the way. He's built some of the sales organizations in our company, and he has taught all of those things I've mentioned: cold call, overcoming objections, follow up, and ask for referrals to every one of our sales folks. Kenny Boom Boom Klinger, how you doing, baby?
I'm doing good, Jay, man. How you feeling today?
I feel good, baby. I feel with my hands, but I'm feeling good, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah, so a couple things. One, can we tell everybody why you call Boom Boom?
No, man, we can't.
That's off record?
We can't be doing. That's a whole nother podcast, bro.
All right. We're going to save the boom boom stuff for the next time you listen to Kenny Boom Boom on. That's here. Right. He'll explain it.
That's right.
Now, we're here. We're growing. For some of the listeners that don't know, we're building Powerhome Solar, right?
That's right.
I mean, taking it to the next level. We've got 2,400 employees plus. We're on pace to do $700 million in book sales this year, right? Mm-hmm. And we built it from the ground up, right? You came and joined a couple years after it was started. It was nowhere near this size. We were going into our second state when you came in. Mm-hmm. And then we came through, and we since then have built up to 15 states, 34 locations. Before that, you worked with me at a home security company where we built that up. So let's talk about cold calling first, right? And cold calling to me is like door knocking or telemarketing. You've done both. You've managed both. Talk a little bit about your experience in cold calling so they kind of know who's telling them what.
Well, when we were in the security business, Jay, our deal was knocking on that door, right?
Yeah.
That was initially. We ended up becoming a telemarketing organization, but at the beginning, it was just us against the world every day out there, walking the streets, beating the doors, and making friends out of strangers, right? So, really my job at the time was to take that skill and translate it to other individuals.
This was a small office I had with maybe 30 employees and not doing a lot of anything.
Well, I mean, I go, the deal. I go back to when it was out of a spare bedroom in your house, bro.
That's right.
Like, it goes way back there. And, I think we probably had 8 or 10 salespeople at the time when I came in. I was at a transition point in my life, and you remember this. I had a business. It was related to home construction, home building, developers, and this was 2007, 2008, and that industry collapsed.
Right.
And I needed to pay bills. I had a small son at home, and a wife, and a house, and all those things. So what are we going to do? And you were there, right? You said, hey, come on, I'll teach you how to sell these damn alarms, and you can keep paying your bills. And that was working fine, just doing it on my own. But the key was to build a team, right? That was the hook, was to be able to duplicate or multiply what we were doing individually across some masses.
Let me stop you there because I want the listeners to pay attention to this. What's important is there's some entrepreneurs out there that the way to build your business is what you're about to get into is scaling, replacing yourself. But then some people are just made to play the game. Like, players make more money than coaches sometimes. Some people just want to go out and sell. And this won't apply to you. If you're just the one that wants to go out there and crush it and make tons of money and bet on yourself every time, that's fine. But if you're wanting to scale and build the business, if you're wanting to take it to the next level and build a team, go ahead.
That's right. So, I can remember us having a conversation, and that conversation was really based around, this was kind of going to be temporary for me. I was looking for my next thing to do, and I can remember vividly us saying, this is the next thing, right? This is going to be the next thing. And my skill is to be able to translate that to other people and to teach and to instruct and to mold and develop. That's my gift, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we set out to do. But just getting into cold calling itself, first of all, it's about confidence, right? Cold calling, if you're going to do any kind of cold calling, whether it's door knocking, whether it's on the phones, business to business, where you're just walking into somebody's place of business and you've got something that you want to offer, it's all about confidence, number one.
Right.
You have to have a lot of self-awareness, self-confidence, and the ability to be okay with rejection, and that you're not going to be able to be affected by that negatively every day, because you're going to face a lot of rejection. That's just the way it is. No one wants to talk to you. No one wants to be disturbed, right, Jay?
That's right.
How it works.
I'm making dinner. What are you doing here, man? I got stuff to do. My point is this is commission only job too.
Yeah.
People need to listen. It's like we were teaching people who weren't getting a salary. They had to go home to mama, or if it was a female, go home to dad and be like, pops, husband, whoever, and be like, look, it's commission only, but sky's the limit. And it's hard to recruit for jobs like that.
Yeah. So, that was one of the big things that was then and still is now in our current business, was number one, all about people. And recruiting is number one. So we never took a day off in recruiting. We were constantly bringing in brand new people all the time, because only the strong are going to survive in an environment like that. But the ones that did survive, wow, did that really change their lives. And it still does today. Like, we've got so many success stories inside of our organization here that even translate back to the old days with selling the alarms.
Well, I remember you had the idea to build the van team. Remember, we had some individual door knockers. Talk about, so listeners and viewers out there, they can understand, how you can really scale a business door knocking with a van program.
Well, it gave them organization. So what we had when I first came in, and I can even remember some of the names, old Arthur Bennett, and some of those folks that were there.
Ben Williams.
Yeah.
No pitches.
That's right. Good dudes, and they were actually making okay money. I would say not great, but they were making okay money. But then we came and developed what we called a van team. It's just an organized way to put people together and put them to work and follow the same process. And we had a graduation process. So they kind of came in. I would teach them how to just go to the door with confidence, knock on the door, give the initial approach, see if there was any interest, and then they would call me over, and I would go in and actually sell the alarm, sell them the service and the system. They would graduate to the next step, where they knock on the door, they would get in the house, they would kind of get through the process and explaining how it works, and then they would call me in just to close or do the paperwork. And then they could do it on their own. But what we found was that organization, that every day, just grind it out. Go get to turf, get it done, knock the doors, because you have to knock 100, 150, 200 doors today to get your one or two deals. That's just the way the numbers shake out.
And you always talked about numbers, right? When you're cold calling, you got to find out what your number is. If my number is 16 and yours is 18,
right,
then we got to get through those 16 till I get one, or 18. And everybody's numbers vary based on skill set, correct?
That's right. I mean, we used a basic 1 in 20 kind of an approach, but you wanted to see if you could get better than that. 1 in 20 is kind of the average. You talk to 20 people, I'm going to sign you up.
Yeah.
Right? But that's just like average.
It's only 5%.
Yeah, it's only 5.
Yeah.
But how much better can I get than that? Can I get to where my number is 1 in 12, 1 in 10, 1 in 8, to where now I get more success every single day, because I'm getting better, and I'm tracking how I'm getting better. And we reinforce that with every single day. What did we do? We were in there training to get better on some of the same topics we'll talk about later. How to overcome objections. Those objections were real easy back there, but we trained on those things every day to get them better and better and better. Now, it doesn't work for everybody. It's not for everybody. But for the ones that were motivated, the ones that would listen, and the ones that would follow the program and follow the process, it changed their lives.
Well, with cold calling, you usually have to have a script.
Yep.
You have to come up with a good script that's soft. And look, us doing that back in, I opened that company up in 05 and you joined 07, 08 time frame. There was a different world than we live in now. It's really hard to door knock. And I give credit to those solar companies out there that do it. I've looked at some, I've seen them. A lot of them do it in the West Coast, but it's hard. And, because we built door knockers, the plus to this is it's like free overhead, right? I mean, you get them in there, it's commission only. You're out the van, gas. And man, we had a crappy ass van, man. It was cold as hell, right? Remember, we had to get the warm. I mean, guys, you got to start from the bottom up. I mean, you can't, you don't wake up the next day and got this, pimp ass van out there and got all this money and signage, and it doesn't work that way. You're ghetto piecing it together every which way you can just to get by so you can get to the next level. And we had all these crappy vans. It's hard to hire people like that. Like, yeah, you're going to get in this crappy van. It's going to be freezing, right? I mean, that's what happens. But I give kudos to those people in the alarm company who do that. But we mastered that, and we taught a pitch that you knocked on a door for the fronter that then brought yourself and then and then a closer in to close it. And when you said graduate, those fronters, those people doing the cold calling, when they got good and their percentage got good, they became a van manager where they got a small salary and an override on their team. And that's called scaling, right? And that's how you have to scale your business and cold calling. Let's forward. And then we did telemarketing, which was similar, but on the phones, harassing people. Hey, blah, 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 blah. I'm not a fan of that either. So we did the door knocking. The good to it is it's scalable, it's affordable, and you can do it. You can still do it today. I believe it's harder in different situations like solar. I think it's harder to door knock it. You could. We're looking at maybe doing that one day, but it's not as easy as it used to be door knock, in my opinion, because you get everything right here on your phone. However, the negative of us building the van teams, where we struggled, was we would hire the wrong kind of people sometimes. Yeah. Right? We would hire those people that wouldn't show up after they got paid for 2 or 3 days because they're out there partying, right? Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's called the paycheck hangover. Right? So, they would get that. They would have success. They would make some money. And then, then they would go, get that brown bag flu on Monday and not show up and not stay motivated. And we would see those patterns and we would try to correct that, but you can't correct, personal integrity and those kinds of things. You can coach toward it. You can show them the right things to do, but you can't force that correction. So we would see those bad habits and know that that's probably not for long and probably not the best for our organization moving forward.
Right.
As we keep building and we become larger and have more exposure out in the workspace, probably not the right representation of our company. So we would end up parting ways with those individuals.
And man, we were bringing them in, they were going out. But that's how we built it. So Fast forward, right? In the alarm business, did that for a few more years, did the PHT thing where it was a little different. They were following a real estate, listing of new homes type model. We get into solar, right? And you didn't come on at first. You were over at Napa for a while doing the corporate thing, right? Running districts and stores and stuff. Yep. And, we got to a point in solar where, I was running these deals, right? And I'm a big believer at scale. So I'd get a lead. I'd be going, hey, Kenny, what's up, baby? Like, hey, I see you wanted some information on, saving money on your power bill. I come see you. Like, I would do that, but I'd never be the owner. I would, I'm a sales rep here. I never wanted to, use my name because then you seem small. I was small. I had like 5-6 employees when I first started leaving security business and open up Powerhome Solar. Well, then I started to scale. I started to get pretty good. I started to close some deals. I'd hire reps and teach them my way, right? Okay, let's do this. Problem was, as I hired some experienced reps from other companies, and they just had bad habits. And that became a problem fast, where we lost money year one. And then year two, in 16, you joined in 16, right? Or 17?
Early 17.
Okay, so 16, things started to turn around a little bit. I started to I had some momentum, right? But still had some reps I wish I wouldn't have had. But as I was building this, I always wanted to tell myself the bad habits that I had early on with the door knockers, where I was held hostage to my top reps.
Right.
We remember that, like, hey, we got 3 reps that do 80% of the work here, and the other 12 do, 20%,
Next
right?
to nothing, yeah.
So when 1 or 2 of those reps were out, the whole company suffered. Mm-hmm. And we didn't really back then, at least in my eyes, I didn't have the experience to realize how detrimental it was to put all your money and chips on 1 or 2 or 3 people. You get football teams there, they get 1 star, they can't succeed, but you get a bunch of good guys, not great guys, unless it's basketball, it's cheating. But then you get them to flow well, right? Like the Patriots, they had Tom Brady, but they didn't have all these other crazy stars. It was people just added up to win. So I didn't realize that at the time, maybe, and we saw that coming in, we were held hostage. And then when we did the telemarketing, it was the same thing, right? You use certain vendors or use certain reps, and they're just so much better than everybody else that we had to build a system. So my goal in Powerhome Solar was to do digital marketing, where we would qualify them, kind of like what you said with that cold call. So it's like a cold call. They're filling out a form, they want information. And then we have a fronter, we have an SDA that really that's like their cold call. They're qualifying that and they're getting them interested. And then they book the appointment, right?
Yes.
And then we send out a rep, and a field energy consultant who is a commission-only W-2 employee gets a vehicle, gets a gas card, gets a tablet, gets the proposal pre-made for them. They don't get to mess with the proposal on azimuth or anything like that. So there's integrity there. They can't be, here's what I'm going to, they can't do any of that jazz, right? So we're protecting the brand and the customer. But here's what's cool. We're not held hostage because we've built a system. So I want you to talk about, the difference. The SDA is doing the cold call and qualifying it. We get into the home with the field energy consultant. They have to overcome some objections. So let's cover that.
Yeah. So let's talk about people plus process equals production.
I like it.
Right. So that's really the 3 P's that we follow with our sales and sales leadership teams. And so first of all, talk about people. It's people selection, number one. So we have to recruit a lot. We have upwards of 400 sales reps now. It blows my mind to say that, Jay. The first month I was here, we had 28.
Isn't that crazy?
Right. So, but over 400 sales reps now. So it's imperative that our sales reps follow the same process and that they're taught the same thing, because otherwise you can get all kinds of messages being sent out there to the consumer, which we have to protect the brand at all costs every single day. So that's a top of mind for every one of our members of sales leadership and our sales training staff. So it starts with the selection of the people and then how we train those people and coach them up and get them out there every day. But just to talk about, objections.
Yeah.
And there's a term that's out there called overcoming objections.
Yeah.
And that's really not accurate, right? That's not the right way to look at it. The right way to look at it, and the way that I've always taught and the way I've taught our instructors to teach our sales teams, is that you discover objections and you deal with those along the way. And it's a part of the Powerhome process to do that. So when we look at our sales team and we look at the success rate of highly successful reps, and look, we've been very open about the earning potential at our company. We had a rep last year make nearly $400,000.
I want everybody to listen to that. A rep, field
Sales
energy
rep.
Consultant, commission only.
Commission only.
Doesn't have to go out and knock doors.
Nope.
Doesn't have to pick up the phone and call and annoy people.
Nope.
Appointments are given to him
Yep.
or her, and they drive out there. They don't have to customize the proposal. They got to go out there and explain, and like you said,
follow our process.
Yeah.
And made that kind of money. And Jay, I don't care what college you went to,
I didn't go to college, dog.
what designation you have in front of your name, like doctor, lawyer, whatever, professor, CEO, CFO, doesn't matter. $400,000 a year.
Good money.
Is kind of, middle finger money, man. I mean, changes your life. The good thing is it changes your outlook on what's possible as a person. And we have hundreds of stories inside of our organization. Just make me smile. I know they make you smile, about people who bought their first house.
Oh, I love it.
They were able to pay off their mom's house that they grew up in, so she doesn't have any more bills and things like that. Buy that dream car they've always thought about. One of our regional guys just bought a new Corvette. It's just because he didn't need it. It's just because. So those kinds of things change your zip code, what you drive, what you wear, where your kids go to school, and what life has as far as possibilities. It just changes it. And that's all because of the process that we put in place. It's not because of me. It's not because of you. It's because what we've done as an organization is put a success pathway in front of them. And for the ones that choose to follow that success pathway, they're successful and they make money. And they preach that every time we ask them, what's the secret sauce? Ain't no secret sauce, right? It's just following the directions, because this pathway leads to a sale and it leads to success. Wherever else you might be going, if you're choosing to do something different, I don't know where that road ends up, but it probably is not at the same place.
Yeah, I would agree. People try to get too cute, or they try to be know-it-all. They don't understand. When you stay in your lane and you stay with the process and you stay with the map that is delivered there in this position,
Right.
Sky's the limit.
And that concludes another episode here on True Underdog. If you're interested in hearing more, make sure you subscribe at iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the YouTube channel. You can always visit trueunderdog.com, subscribe to all of them. Make sure you check out our newest episodes coming out on Mondays and Thursdays. True Underdog, baby. Bam!